G'day mate and welcome back to Factorio with me, Jedit. So in today's video, we're going to be covering really your consolidation base, where you're starting to move away from your burner city, which we covered in the previous video, and starting to swap everything over to electrical power rather than burner power. At the same time, upgrading your base and consolidating all your automation into one localized area. So with that said, we're going to run the intro and then we'll jump into it. So, we covered briefly last time how to set up your very early burner automation along with your early science creation, which I've just realized is out of iron, so we'll just top that back up really quickly. Same time, as it get that really early first automation up and running. At the same time, we should really cover some of your early tech that you should be aiming for. So if we bring up the tech tree really quickly, we can see we obviously grabbed automation as our very first research. After that, I generally grab logistics. So logistics give you the underground belt, which we haven't covered at all, and the splitter, which we again haven't really covered at all. But they're going to be sort of the first things you need to do to sort of get your belt work up and running. On top of that, normally my next research is military, just so we get a submachine gun. Submachine gun is vastly more powerful than the pistol we start with, and as you can see, crafting wise, it's not that expensive. So again, it's something I normally get early game just to make sure I have I'm set up for combat before the biters show up. The next couple of researches I normally aim for depends on whether you've already had a visit from the biters. Generally at this stage you probably haven't, but also grab electronics with the faster inserter. It just runs twice the speed of the yellow inserter. There's a couple of early operations where you're going to start wanting these spread around your base. On top of that, we normally grab turrets along with stone walls, steel processing, and the Logistic Science pack, being the second science pack that is available in the game. So that's really my starting research. As we showed before, we have red science up and running, so we can actually tick off all these red science researches very quickly, very easily, without changing over anything. So with that said, next thing you want to do, and I've pre-set up some of this, there will be attached blueprints down in the description below. I've set up our very first smelter block. So a smelter block basically brings in coal and uses the underground. So as you can see, we have an underground here. Actually, we'll put some basics on our tool belt so we don't have to go looking for them. I should cover that really quickly. If you want to remove something off your tool belt, you should middle mouse click on it, which will then remove whatever item was there. So we have an underground. An underground's job is to basically go under an existing belt. So as you can see, I've got an underground here, which is bringing the material, bringing the coal that I've split off. So again, we'll cover a splitter really quickly. I've split off from down here from our power creation. I've also increased our power creation, our steam engines down here, because we're going to end up using a lot more power over the next couple of minutes. And what we have is we have a splitter. What a splitter does is essentially moves things into two different directions. And also, as we sort of briefly covered last time, on a belt there's actually two lanes. There's the inside lane, well, there's left lane, right lane, inside lane, outside lane, all depends on how you want to talk about it. But as you can see, because I have, let's remove you and remove you for a second. Because I have a belt facing this way and a belt facing this way, I can then have this belt side load. As you can see, the belt's hanging over this central belt, and drop coal onto one side of the belt. And that's essentially what we're doing here. We're dumping coal on one side of the belt with the full intention of putting iron on one side of the belt and copper on the other side of the belt. So if we just press Q to bring up belts and put them in my hand, I've set up some mining drills over here to give us a good supply of iron. I want to bring that up and I want to tie that one in there. So that's going to put iron on one side of the belt, coal on the other side of the belt. And along here we have our very first smelter block. So a smelter block is generally to get a full belt of throughput out. It's going to be 24 smelters long to provide one lane at full speed. So as you can see, we're putting coal on one side of the belt, which obviously the furnace needs to burn, and also putting in iron ore on the other side of the belt. The inserter can grab whichever one is required by the furnace. If I just remove the coal, we can see that inserter is going to grab coal until it's topped back up. And any second now, he'll grab some iron. Yeah, he just threw some iron in there. And this inserter is going to pull out that iron after it's turned on iron plate and put it on one side of the belt. As you can see, inserters tend to put on the far side of the belt. So we can see all these guys down the bottom, they're putting iron on the top side of the belt. And the other side of the belt, we want to actually run some copper in. So I've already got some copper set up right here. We'll just top these guys back up as we run past. I actually want to bring this into the other half of the smelter block. So same story as before. We want to have a belt there and a belt there. But I want to have coal on both of these belts. So I want to have coal going down as well as coal coming up here and going on the copper line as well. So what I can do is I can put a splitter down here. Splitters do two things. They both split and merge. So if in the case of how we're using them currently, we're actually splitting the material out, being the coal, and putting on two separate lanes. If we put one here and we just do that, we can see we've got coal on both lanes. The other thing they can do is if I feed a different material in here, this will actually merge the two materials together. Or in the case of, should my coal belt start running short, I can take a second coal line and feed it into a splitter down here to give me more throughput along the belt. So with that said, we can now, as you see, we've now got copper running through our smelter block, and it's going from the top. And again, the inserters, they like putting things on the far side of the belt and is putting it on the bottom side. On the flip side, inserters are lazy. So they actually take from whatever's closest to us. So they'll actually prioritize taking the coal first and the copper second. But with that said, this is what we've set up. So we've set up really a lot of things we already had automated, plus a couple of extra things. And what we want to do is we want to consolidate them into one close area. So very, very quickly, because I now have iron and copper on one single belt, I can set up all these machines to very, very quickly use both iron or copper. So we are going to need a whole bunch of inserters again. So we had ammo before. I'm going to want ammo again. I'm probably also going to want a bunch of chests, and we can start making some ammo production. We're also going to need our belts, obviously. I much prefer it if they're local and consolidated. So we can see again iron in to create gears, iron and gears in to give us belts. But as you can see, this is all running a little bit slow. Obviously that single inserter is not fast enough to keep up. We did research, as I said, those faster inserters. If I pop one of those down there instead, you can see he swings much faster than these yellow guys. And now this machine is actually, it's probably got too much iron in it. On the flip side, this guy does not actually have enough gears and can't get out fast enough. So again, a couple of fast inserters. And we're going to put one there. And if we bring this up really quickly, we can see we've probably moved the problem across to iron plate. We can't actually get iron plate in fast enough. So again, one more fast inserter. And we can now see that this machine is running a lot faster than it ever was before. Okay. The other thing we want to do is we want to set up green circuits again. So we do remember from previously that, we'd set up copper cable here, which we ran on a very long belt all the way down here to make green circuits. We want to do the exact same again, except as I said, I want to have everything consolidated. So I want to have a long-handed inserter here. Long-handed inserters are these red ones. The biggest difference with them is, as we can see, they pick up from all the way over here and they place all the way over there. If we give them power, you can see that because we've turned on the inserter arrows in our interface. There we go. Inserter arrows, click confirm. We can see all our arrows have now disappeared, making things a little bit harder to understand what's going on. But with the inserter arrows on, we can see that it's designed to pick up from this position and put into this position. So what we want to do is we want to put one here, and it's going to pick up from the belt all the way in here, and it helps if I empty it, and it's going to put it right in the middle of the assembly machine. That's perfectly fine. Doesn't matter whether it puts it in the middle or just in the very edge like these ones do. As long as it goes into the assembly machine, we're set. So on top of that, we're going to want a inserter to put some of that copper cable into our green circuit machine, and we're also going to want another long-handed inserter to put some iron in, and that'll give us some green circuits out. And then again, I'm going to use a short inserter, and I'm going to put down a second belt. So as you can see, we're putting both iron and copper in, and bringing out our electronic circuits. But as you can see, we're definitely short on copper cable. So this is when we come down to a couple of ratios. I'm going to cover this one really, really briefly. We need 3 copper cable and 1 iron plate every half a second. There goes our research. 3 copper cable and 1 iron plate every half a second to get an electronic circuit built. With our lovely little assembly machines over here, they create 2 copper cable every single half a second. So this requires 3, which normally just means we just need to have a second machine up and running to, let's put a power pole there instead, and that should give us more than enough copper cable to keep things running, providing our inserters were fast enough. So again, we're going to have the same story here. We've got far too much copper cable, and we can't get it out of this machine into that machine fast enough. So with the addition of a couple of fast inserters, we'll bring this up again, and we'll go fast inserter, and we can now see that we definitely have more than enough copper cable going in, but now we've actually moved the problem across to iron. And again, just some simple alterations. We're going to have a second long-handed inserter just to speed that up slightly, and a fast inserter to bring the electronic circuits back out. So very, very quick, very, very simple, but it also means because I've duplicated that to right here, we want to do the exact same thing again. So I want to have one of those. I need to craft some more. 2 of those, 1 of those, run that along, give ourselves some power. And again, going back to that ratio really quickly, we saw that this guy needed 3 copper cable, this guy makes 2 copper cable, this guy makes 2 copper cable as well, but our green circuit machine only needs 3. So what we're actually doing is we're sharing this machine between this electronic circuit machine and this electronic circuit machine to double our output. And then down for our bottom section, there's a couple of things that we've added here that we didn't have in our original Burner City down here. So down here we just had really gears for ourselves personally, along with belts, electronic circuits, and ammunition. We've got our ammunition up and running, but the thing that we've been crafting a lot of all the way up until now, especially when doing smelter blocks like this, is lots and lots of inserters. Now, because we've got the intermediates, that's fine. They're not that hard to craft, but it does take a little bit of time. And if we could automate it, we'd save ourselves a bunch of time. So again, same story. We're going to grab a whole bunch of fast inserters. We're going to grab gears. We're going to grab iron, because they're 2 of the requirements for our inserter, but also there's those green circuits. So we're actually going to put down a long-hand inserter to reach over our shared iron and copper line into our electronic circuit line and grab some of those as well. So with a simple power pole there, we should be able to grab some gears, along with feed the gears into this machine, put in some iron off this local inserter, along with a green electronic circuit from above. I'm definitely going to get the name right eventually. It has to happen by mistake. I've been playing this game for so long that green circuits has just become my accepted name for electronic circuits. So, as I said, we've got the short inserter, the short fast inserter, grabbing some of the iron with the long-handed inserter reaching all the way across and grabbing those electronic circuits. And then same story, we're going to want to put these out into a box right here with another power pole to power up that inserter, and voila, we're done. We've got both inserters and belts automated, which means when we come to build another inserter, another smelter block, we've got a lot of the main items up and running. The next 2 things we want to automate are fairly simple. They're the assembly machines. So these are the things that we've been, up until now, we've handcrafted all these, but we're probably going to want to expand the base, have it automate more and more things, which is going to mean that we're going to want assembly machines. So Same story as before, we just check the ingredients. It's iron, it's gears, it's electronic circuits. That's gears, that's iron, that moves the gears across. Electronic circuits are a long-handed inserter. Same story, power pole and a power pole. We can then have some more inserters. Oh, I got a whole box full. Have it output into a box and away it goes. And then our last one is our electric mining drills. I haven't shown any of these. We did craft our very first two all the way over here in the previous video just to get our power up and running, but we're probably going to want a fair bit of resources going forward, which is going to require more and more mining drills. So same story, we want to have, if we check the recipe, it's the exact same as the assembly machine. So again, iron, gears, and electronic circuit. You'll notice the gears are a very common thing used in Factorio, so it's probably something in a future video I'm going to show you how to automate and actually have them sit on their very own belt, because you're going to need a fair bit of them. So now that we've shown all that, we can see that definitely we have more than enough iron flowing down this belt, because these smelters are completely full. They can't even output. But we do notice that, as you can see, our iron is not really making it past here. This has been the first drib of iron that's made it all the way up to here, which probably means that we're using too much of it elsewhere. We've already got 100 ammo sitting right here, and ammo actually stacks into stacks of 200. So 200 ammo is probably enough to keep you up and running. So what we actually want to do is we want to go to this box, we want to click the X button and then drag it to cap the chest. We only need an extra 200 ammo for right now. Maybe in the future we're going to want more, but for right now I think 200 is probably going to be enough. Next thing we want is belts. As you can see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 982. It's probably a little bit much. I think we're going to cap that to, say, 300. 300 seems like a much better number. And as you can see, as I've started capping things, iron's moving further and further down the belt. Inserters, same story, probably 200. 200 seems like more than enough. Assembly machines. If we actually hover over the recipe, you can see the total raw cost down there on the right-hand side. So we can see it's 22 iron and 4.5 copper. If we go back to the belts, for argument's sake, we can see they're just 3 iron. So obviously, because these are going to cost a lot more iron, we probably want to have a lower cap on them. These actually stack in stacks at 50, and I'm telling you right now, 1 stack is more than enough to get you up and running. Mining drills are a different story. I would probably say leave this chest uncapped, because this is at the end of the line. If any materials make it up to here, you might as well use them, and you might as well put them in mining drills, because if this box fills up to 800, I promise you over the course of your Factorio game, you're probably going to use 800. But for right now, I'm probably going to cap that to, say, 100. 100 is a good amount of mining drills to have laying around. Last thing I want to automate, which I haven't actually shown here, is I'm going to want to automate gun turrets, because we're going to need them. We're going to need them, and eventually the biters are going to get aggravated by our pollution. So if I just bring up this, turn on our pollution overlay, because I actually have the map settings that I showed you in a previous video. Again, I'm going to link that up in the top right-hand corner. My pollution doesn't spread, but if you've chosen not to use my map generation settings, and if you've used the default ones, you'll find your pollution is going to start spreading across the map, and it's probably going to be covering the whole screen by now. So one of the things you want to look at is some guns. Guns are definitely going to keep you safe. You could always run around and shoot the biters yourself. Speaking of biters, actually, I should have crafted a submachine gun by now, but I haven't. You're probably going to want to have some automated defenses. So what I want to do is I want to run our belt along. This just requires iron, copper, and gears, but if we hover over it, you can see it does consume a lot of iron. So again, this is one I definitely have at the end of my little build, because it's just going to be eating whatever iron you have available. It will consume all of it. So again, very, very quickly, we're just going to have gears go in, iron go in, copper go in. It's literally 2 inserters, and pray and wait for some iron to flow through. As I said, inserters are lazy. We can see it's picking up the belt closest to it, so it's always going to keep picking up copper until it fills up the maximum amount of copper that it can have in the assembler, which is 2 complete crafts. So once it gets to 20, it'll stop, and then he'll be slightly less lazy and he'll reach out further and grab any iron that happens to float all the way down the belt. For right now, it's probably not going to be a lot until these start backing up. Once these start backing up, we'll start having more and more material, more and more iron flow down the belt. Again, same story. We definitely want to cap this. They stack in a stack of 50. 50 is going to be more than enough for what we need. So with that out of the way, the other thing I want to show you very, very quickly is how to set up your early defenses, because like I said, if you're running normal map generation settings, you're probably going to end up running into biters sooner or later. So down here we have our burner mining drills, which have been feeding into a stone furnace, which we covered before. But if we smelt stone, if we smelt 2 pieces of stone, we end up with 1 piece of brick. So if I just empty those out really quickly, we can see I've filled up my inventory with brick, which provides 2 things. One, we can actually put down a path with that brick. So I can put down this brick on the ground, and if we hover our mouse over a brick, we can see we get a walking speed bonus of 130%. So it does give us a significant speed boost when running around the base. Something you might want to consider, smelting some extra brick, putting yourself down a path, especially for routes you're running consistently and constantly. On top of that, the other thing we have is in the combat section, we can actually craft walls. It's 5 brick for 1 wall, and we're going to want some wall to get us up and running. At the same time, I'd really love a gun right about now. We'll craft ourselves a couple of those, and I'll just empty some excess copper out of those smelters and excess iron out of those smelters really quickly. Because as I said, I want to show you guys how to set up some very, very basic defenses. And the other thing we want to do is we want to set up green science, because we have unlocked our second science. In fact, we can just... that finishes off our red technology. Okay, so walls. Walls are the first thing. I really, really recommend you be careful about where you put down walls. You do not want to set up a wall that goes all the way around your base. This is not the Great Wall of China simulator. This is just simple defenses to make sure that you're going to be safe from your very first couple of attacks. Biters tend to look for the high pollution areas. High pollution areas are generally wherever the most smoke is coming out of your base. So it's obviously going to be smelter blocks. It's definitely going to be power. And it's probably going to be your first burner city. They're really your top 3 attack spots. And if we grab a gun and I can hover it over the map, we can see this is its attack range. So because we have power right beside water, I probably want to put down my guns right near the water, and I want to make sure that I put some walls around them. So walls are going to stop the biters from getting in any closer. At the same time, if I surround our guns with a double layer of walls really, really quickly, we can see straight away that because I've used the lake, I've saved myself some walls. In fact, actually, if I move my guns out here even further, I could have had water on 2 sides. But on top of that, I've put down a couple of guns in a pillbox style. So you really don't want to have one gun sitting by itself. You really want to have them probably in sets of 2 or 3 or 4 as the attacks get bigger and bigger. I should really cover this as well. So we crafted the SMG, which put this down into my weapon slots. It's probably the best way of putting it. And if I press tab, this will take me through it'll take me to my next gun that has ammo. So if I've got both my pistol and my SMG having ammo, I can press the tab button to cycle between them. But if I just move all my ammo over the SMG, it's going to default to the SMG at all times. So we're going to dump some ammo in each. 50 is probably overkill. 25 is probably a more reasonable number. But as you can see, guns are quite expensive and take a while to craft. Actually, there's 4 right there. But the few hundred wall I had to start with, I've already used up. So again, pillbox style, put down a couple of guns, put ammo in each. I'm holding down control to put in half a stack in each one of these. So that's half the amount that's available in my hand, or half the maximum amount that I can hold at once. And as you can see, if I hover over them, we've got 37, 19, 19, and 75. Again, if I'm holding down right click, holding down control, and I right click on this gun, that's going to remove half the ammo out of it. 38, 37, I could probably take another section out of those. That gives me 19 each. But with 4 guns covering one another, that's a fairly effective defense. So Last thing I should cover is we did unlock our second science pack, so that is the Logistic Science pack. As you can see, it uses 2 of the items that we've already gone and crafted, those being the transport belt and the inserter. As you can see, I've intentionally put these right beside one another. If we just craft up a couple of inserters, I can actually take out of the boxes that I've put these into and put them on one single shared belt with inserters on one side and belt on the other. If I grab some assembly machines, we can then run a row of assembly machines down here very quickly. I obviously need some inserters, so again we go back to our box and we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 very quickly. Set up our next science. No, I don't want to craft those. I want to craft power poles. Set up power, so I have powered inserters, because powered ones definitely work better than unpowered ones. Set our research, green science. Again, shift right click to copy, and then shift left click, and then just drag to paste. And again, inserters for output. And that's our very first green science. Now we've got 2 choices. We could either run this over to our existing labs to get them up and running. Our second option is we could always move our science we've got down here up to here. Again, that's entirely up to you. You can finally rip up probably both your burner cities. They've really done their jobs. You're still going to need to have stone output for smelters. The one other thing I will show you really quickly is a small pro tip. So if we take some real miners, which of course I don't have any on me, and we set this guy to make stone furnaces, because as you saw, I needed 48 stone furnaces up there to make our very first smelter block, and you're going to need a lot more in the future. What you can actually do is you can take some electric mining drills. You're in my way. Place a couple of these and have them output directly into this machine. So they're going to mine the stone and physically force it into this assembly machine, which is going to obviously give you some stone furnaces. You've got 2 options here. You can either leave this as is, and the assembly machine will actually stack up to 50 stone furnaces available for you to pick up at any time, or you can just give yourself an output box as we've done in the past and cap this, not cap this, that's entirely up to you, and have your stone furnaces stack up in there. But with all that said, that's the end of the scope of this video. As always, there will be a follow-up video with more information, probably covering a little bit more about combat, your pillboxes, and all those sorts of things, along with taking that next step to actually set up rows and rows of furnaces to give you a bigger and better base that has more expandability. At the same time, if you've got any more questions and you need a little bit more help, we do have a very active Discord server, hundreds of Factorio players in there, more than happy to give you a hand, answer any questions you might have. Lastly, I will also mention that if you found this video helpful, you want to see more videos like this, by all means click the like button, subscribe at the same time, doing a whole bunch of tutorials, videos like this, both for the newer player and for the more experienced player. I do have 2 playlists linked down the bottom. One is the current playlist that you're watching, which is brand new, really aimed around 1.0 and the final release for Factorio, and covering a lot of the basics, along with slowly getting up to the more advanced tricks for a lot more veteran players. But I do always try to stick in little nuggets of pro tips for veteran players out there. At the same time, I do actually link a second playlist. This is all based around previous Factorio versions, but the information is still very current and very good. The graphics are just a little bit out of date because they are based around older parts of Factorio. Again, those 2 playlists are down in the description as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed the video, and at the same time, I hope you've learned something along the way. So thank you guys so much for watching. Do hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, bye.